So you've logged in to your home city in Star Citizen, excited to fly out and fulfill your dreams amongst the stars. But to get to the ship of your dreams, it turns out you have to ride the subway. It's the year 2953. You can see out of the train window all of the other people flying around in their own spaceships to landing pads on the roof, but you're still stuck in public transport, like you're riding the bus to work. What gives, Star Citizen? I'm Forrester, and in this video, we'll chat about it. At this point in the video, many YouTubers would say something like, "I'm a city transport planner in real life," but nope. Probably like you, I've spent too many hours of my life on the train, which got me thinking, should I be doing that in-game? So maybe you might like to stick around. Having pondered this on a virtual tram, there's more to it than you might initially think. The starting point might be asking, why is public transport useful in the modern world? Well, anybody who has a lot of hours in cities' skylines will have some idea. Having 120 people in one vehicle is often easier to manage than having 120 people in 120 vehicles. Congestion is a major problem, leading to potential gridlock, frustration, and high travel times. By using public transport, the overall capacity of the system is increased. But that changes, and in a big way, when you open up the skies as a potential travel route. That's not to say that air travel can't become congested, but the sort of air travel that we have in Star Citizen, where ships can speed up and slow down very quickly, not to mention hover mid-air, could open up all kinds of possibilities for high volume traffic. So perhaps congestion isn't the issue here. Perhaps then it's an issue of logistics, fuel efficiency. Well, possibly, but that also seems hard to believe given the relatively low cost and fuel usage of many of the smaller ships in-game. The fact that many smaller ships that you might use to at least move around planetside barely sip anything in terms of fuel, and some are even equipped with fuel scoops, might lead you to think that fuel isn't really a consideration in this regard either. But parking space could be a genuine concern. Whilst there are many buildings in the New Babbage skyline that all have their own landing pad on the roof, that's one pad for a massive building, and it's a pad that needs to be kept clear so that space pilot Sammy can deliver those boxes to the vending machine. At some point we may get access to personal hangars, but even then, if you weren't planning to be one of those people who sleeps next to their ship, you'd need some way of getting to the hangar. So as a genuine gameplay concern, that's one reason we might need to continue to see a use for public transportation. But it's not true for every ship. For example, when your 890 Jump is parked in the hangar, you'll probably find that the master suite in the 890 Jump is a much nicer sleep than many of the apartment buildings you might stay in, so surely you'd just head back to the ship. And well, that brings us to one of the final points, and something that I've heard Paul Shelley over at the Astropub discuss. There's a chance that most citizens are unlikely to own a ship because they're so expensive. And that's not a comment on how much you have to pay for the game, that's an in-law idea that spaceships could end up being the preserve of the relatively wealthy characters in game. Thankfully, all players would likely fit into that category, but that could be a nice reason for more public transportation to exist for those poor NPC masses who need to get to work, refueling and repairing your spaceship that you scratched up hitting the side of your hangar when you took off. Not that that helps, of course, when you're stood at the city transit station in-game waiting for the next ride. And on that note, thank you for listening to the ramblings of somebody who has spent too long on an in-game tram and whose mind may have wandered somewhat as a result. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, in which case you might press that like button, and of course you might want to subscribe if you'd like YouTube to show you more musings from this commuter. Otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching. Oh, and mind the gap.